Hi everyone, my name is Steph, this is the Novelty Corner and welcome back to my channel, and I'm going to start off with an apology about the lighting. So one of my nausea triggers at the minute is bright lights and being overly warm. So if I have my studio light on, which I would normally have to have much better lighting than this, it's not a great combination for me at the moment. So I'm going to try and film this way. If it gets really bad, I'll put the lights on for brief periods. But yeah, just please bear with me because I really want to film this tri-chapter video, but I don't want to end up sick. If you've never seen one of my tri-chapter videos, I am in the process of filming 12 of these this year. This is number 8. I think I'm technically one ahead for the months of the year, and I've done plenty of these in the past. I love filming these because it's a way for me to go through my TBR. In this case, we're going to be going through some of my digital TBR, trying some of the books that have been on there for a while and deciding, you know, whether or not I actually still want to read them, whether I am no longer interested in them and I'm going to permanently DNF them, and occasionally I read some books at the end of this video. In this case, because it is the month of the Australian Readathon, I'm going to be reading books from my unread Australian authored folder. So I categorize all of my folders on my Kindle using my iPad. I do it on my iPad app. I've got various categories for everything. While I mostly sort things by the year that I acquired them now, I find that's just really helpful for me to read down my TBR. I do have other categories which occasionally I like to pull from, particularly in videos like this. So on the screen, you will see a scroll of everything that is currently in the folder. There are currently 34 books in the folder, and if you look at the screen, you might go, hang on, Steph, there's an even number of rows of 5 on here, so that can't be 34. It's because Prince of Fortune, I forgot to take it out when I filmed this clip. I'm currently reading Prince of Fortune as an audiobook from Libby, so I'm not going to include it in here. It's also a book I've tried a chapter of before. There is one other book in this list that I have tried a chapter of before, and that is, oh my gosh, I can't remember the name of it. Totally Ducked by Becca Jackson. If this comes up, I have to read it for this video, so it'll count toward, it won't count towards the tri chapter. I've already read the tri chapter, but it means that I will just have to read it. And of course, wouldn't you know it, there's more books in this folder, which if you've watched any of this series, you will probably have recognized as I scrolled through. So buckle in, because there are more of them that fit in this category. Alrighty, so I have a random number generator app. I'm going to set this to 34. First one, I tap it 3 times and then I take the third number, and then it's just whatever number comes next. 1, 2, 3, 25. Okay, is an anthology, which I will include. This is the Bubbles anthology from the Romance Writers of Australia. Even though it's kind of difficult to judge the first chapter of a single story within an anthology, it's just to get a sense of kind of what's included. This was their Sweet Treats anthology from last year. 16 is the next one, which is Reclaim by Marley Valentine, which for some reason I thought I'd read, but clearly I've not. Next one is 14. Actually, I lied. There is another one on here that I've tried a chapter from, and it was this one. I'm not going to include that because I'm just going to say that I have to either read or DNF this collection now. And it's the All I Want for Christmas collection. Christmas being CHRIS-MAS, as in Chris Evans. Okay, so we're still up to our third tri chapter. 13. Oh, okay. This is an N.R. Walker book. It's Nova Praetorian. And if you're wondering what I'm doing, I'm writing down my notes so I don't forget. Next one is 23, which is Mr. Romance by Louise Masters. If you're thinking to yourself, Steph, haven't you tried this first chapter? Yes. Yes, I have. Watch me realize that when I get to it later in the video. Which is an MM College romance in the Franklin U universe. Oh, number 1 is Gathering Dark by Candice Fox. This one I've had for ages, and pretty sure it's like a crime mystery book. 3 is Where Death Meets the Devil by L.J. Hayward. Number 7 is 27, is another anthology. It's another Romance Writers of Australia, which is Lights, and it's their Diversions anthology, which I think was their Diverse anthology. 32 is an Improper Proposition by Amy Rose Bennett. This is a historical romance novella, I'm pretty sure. Right, number 9 is 28, is Winter Wonders by Leighton Greene. Pretty sure this is an MM story. And last one is 34, which is the last book, Love on Ice by J.A. Lowe, which actually that's one I do want to actually try and read, or at least try the chapter of and see if I want to continue reading it, because I think J.A. Lowe is going to rare. We have our 10 books, plus I have to either read or DNF All I Want for Christmas. So Bubbles, Reclaim, Nova Praetorian, Mr. Romance, Gathering Dark, Where Death Meets the Devil, Lights Anthology, An Improper Proposition, Winter Wonders, and Love on Ice. Let's do this. The romance writers of Australia anthologies are all very short stories, so there's no chapter. So I just read the first story just to get a sense of the kind of story that they accept, the quality of the writing, etc. And the first story was The Bubble Prophecy by Fiona Mackenzie Kekich, I think might be how you say her last name. And this was really delightful. Like, it was just a really lovely little sweet story. It's about Annie, who has been through multiple breakups over the years. She's never been able to find the partner for her. And every time she has a bad breakup, she ends up going on a hiking trek. And this time she is hiking Mount Fuji in Japan. And she's feeling despondent. She's been to a local temple. They'd kind of given her a prophecy that, you know, she needs to look out for bubbles. That's the kind of the sign that she'll find love, that she'll see bubbles. It's as she's traveling back, she's on the train back from Mount Fuji, and she runs into an Australian guy, Will, on the train, and they get to talking. They get along great, and they realise they have the same initials. But he has to leave to make a connecting train, and he's actually going to the temple that she's just been to. Anyway, it's the two of them connecting and both getting the same prophecy or little fortune from this temple. They get the exact same one, but when you translate one of the words in the prophecy, it is the pronunciation of their initials. So it's kind of like that thread of fate connecting them. So that's the story. Like, it's very, very sweet. It kind of ends on an HFN promise of them meeting, but it was adorable. Really. All right, so now I'm going to read the first chapter of Reclaim by Marley Valentine. All right, so Reclaim is a contemporary romance set in Sydney, Australia. It is about Jagger, who is a prison inmate. So I read the prologue and the first chapter. In the first chapter, we know that I think he has either injured he must have just injured someone, I think, with a gun. So there's gun violence in the story. We don't actually know exactly what happened yet. And he is being taken away. And the first chapter is Emerson, who is his legal aid solicitor, coming to visit him in prison to let him know that he has been approved for parole and early release. She's a really interesting character because she has this inner monologue about, you know, how and why she's gone into legal aid, which is the free legal system in Australia. She comes from a family of property lawyers, so her family have a long history of law, but they haven't worked in the government sector. And she just talks about how she got into that and why she chose to go into legal aid, which is interesting in and of itself. Got interrupted by a phone call that's going to interrupt this video, because of course it will. The tagline is that it's a redemption story, so it's obviously going to be Jagger's redemption kind of story arc, which means it's probably going to be fairly heavy. I mean, most of Marley Valentine's stories are. Not quite sure I'm into it today, but I am interested in the story because I do like Marley Valentine's writing. So that will be on a future reading list. So now we're going to read the first chapter of Nova Praetorian by N.R. Walker. Oh, the lighting's getting bad. Nova Praetorian is set in the time of the gladiators in ancient Rome. I read the interlude and the first chapter, in which we meet Quintus, who is someone who trains fighters or slaves or whatever it is. I mean, it's ancient Rome. There's a whole lot of information at the start of the book that I probably should have read a little bit more closely. And he is approached with an offer that he literally can't refuse. He's basically blackmailed into it, in which he's going to leave his post. He's been bought to act as the private bodyguard of a very prominent man in Rome. And that's kind of the first chapter. It's N.R. Walker, so I trust what she's going to do. I know that the relationship is between Quintus and I think one of the household slaves. The next chapter I'm going to try is the first chapter of Mr. Romance. So I had to get changed because I have to duck out in a minute, and I just realized I've read the first chapter of Mr. Romance before, so I am reading this today. So there's that. So we're trying the first chapter of Gathering Dark. The opening of this book is from Blair's perspective. She is a former surgeon who is also now an ex-con, and she's working in a gas station when that gas station is held up, and she's held up at gunpoint and money is taken. And she realizes that the girl who is stealing from her is on the run from something, and even though the place where she works is owned by the cartels. Blair is kind of unwilling to let them get scent of this girl's trail, and so she actually replaces the money that's stolen. And it's kind of just a setup for this particular character because we have Blair, and then I know we'll have the police detective, I think Jessica, who is the next character if I was vaguely skimming the blurb for the book. So this should be interesting. Also interesting because this book is published by Penguin, and I need that for the Connections challenge for the 52 Book Club Summer Reading Challenge, and I didn't have any other Penguin books, so now I have one, and that's really helpful. The next first chapter is Where Death Meets the Devil. So I'm assuming this is going to be an romantic suspense story, and the first chapter is from Jack's perspective. He's 35. He works as muscle for hire, I'm assuming, for a guy colloquially known as the Man, although we get his name in the chapter. And the Man suspects that Jack is a spy within his organisation on behalf of a Australasian metastate. Jack denies and denies and denies right up until the very end of the chapter when he's like, oh shit. So I really like the first chapter. Like, this is one I will definitely keep on my radar. Maybe not for now, but maybe this month, because there's still a lot of July left. It read really well, and we all know I like my romantic suspense books. The next first chapter we'll be trying, or well, the next one we'll try is the Lights Anthology. So I'll read the first story again and then let you know the quality of it. Alrighty, I am back. So there was a brief little trip out because my mum was in my area and she wanted to catch up. So we went grocery shopping together, as you do, because that's where she was. But before that, I read The Science of Love by Charlotte Ann, which was the first story in the Lights collection. And this was a historical sapphic romance. It is about the daughter of a duchess who is a scientist and the artist who's hired to create illustrations and artwork for the book that she is writing. And it was very sweet. Like, it was very well written. I was probably less engaged in this one than the other one simply because it was historical rather than contemporary, but that's fine. It was still quite good. And it's also, again, a very short collection, and all of the stories, I think, are maybe between 20 and 40 pages long. Probably less than that because there's quite a few stories. All right, so the next first chapter I'm going to try is An Improper Proposition. Alrighty, so An Improper Proposition is a historical romance novella, and this one is only about 65 pages long, so it gets very to the point very quickly. So we have Bianca, who is a countess, and she's unmarried, she's 30, and at the very start of the book she has been attacked or inappropriately approached by a man, and her footman Blake intervenes. And she is very attracted to Blake, who is 7 years younger than her, and he is also very attracted to her, and she, in her head, is trying to talk herself out of why taking him to bed is a bad idea, but in the end she puts forward the proposition to him, and that is the improper proposition. Chapter 2 is, I'm assuming, where that will come to fruition. So next up is Winter Wonders. Alrighty, so the first chapter of Winter Wonders introduces John, who has travelled in his car from Los Angeles to Connecticut. He's run off the road in a snowstorm and is feeling very sorry for himself, ends up falling asleep in his car, and is awoken when a guy knocks on the window and is trying to help him out because he's quite literally stuck and it's snowing quite badly. That turns out to be Cooper, and Cooper offers to help him out, eventually gets him out of the car, and John is very cold and eventually falls unconscious and wakes up in Cooper's cabin. Cooper says that he's a doctor. I'm assuming that's going to be a true thing. We also learn that John is a submissive and that he's probably been involved in a relationship that's gone bad, or a series of relationships that have gone bad, and he's very snarky, very sarcastic, and it kind of just washes off Cooper, which is nice. So I'm intrigued. I would probably want to give it a couple more chapters to see if I want to continue reading it. And the last first chapter we're going to try is Love on Ice by J.A. Lowe. A dramatic opening. So the first chapter of Love on Ice is from Felix's perspective. He is about to transfer from his team in LA to New York, and he overhears his best friend and teammate and also the team captain talking to his girlfriend, to Felix's girlfriend, who have been having an affair behind his back for over a year, and he's not pleased, and he literally gets called up to do a speech. It's like his going away party. He's doing a speech and he thanks his team, and then he lets rip at them, which fair, a little bit dramatic, but the good thing is it doesn't pile on the issues on top of it, because I think there's a couple of books I've read this year where you've had like 3 or 4 different life issues just piled on in the first chapter. This one at least is just one. It's just the reveal of the fact that his partner is cheating on him and he's already leaving. So I'm intrigued enough to continue reading a few more chapters of this one to see how it goes, because I'm hoping that it will improve. Alrighty, so what is the plan now? Well, I need to change the battery on my camera because it's about to die. I have to read, or try to read, All I Want for Christmas and Mr. Romance, which I have as an audiobook. So I'm actually going to probably listen to the audiobook for Mr. Romance while I am getting lunch ready and doing some stuff around here. And then what I think I'll probably try and finish off, just because it's short, is an Improper Proposition by Amy Rose Bennett as well. So hopefully there will be 3 books either finished or DNF'd, because really, like, I don't want to get rid of anything off this list, but that could clear a couple of things for me. So I will update you when I have an update. Okay, I had to pull the light out because we have completely lost any natural light that I may have had. So nothing I can do about that. So we're gonna be quick. So I have finished 2 of the books so far. I had the audiobook for Mr. Romance by Louisa Master, so I was listening to that while I was doing lunch and chores and bits and pieces. And it is the story of Charlie, Charlie and Liam. It is an MM story. Charlie is at college, or they're both at college. When I first read the first chapter for this book, Charlie has a massive confrontation with 3 people, 3 friends of his, in a cafe, because they all think that they're dating him, but that's not what was going on at all. He happens to be a very generous, very lovely, very sweet, very, very, very clueless friend. And he comes from money, and he knows that a lot of the people that he gets along with, that he considers friends, don't. So he shouts them dinner or lunch and takes them to his favorite places, like walks along the beach, etc. So they all think that they're dating him, and they have a massive blue in the middle of a cafe because they think he's cheating on them with the other person. And one of his friends takes pity on him, rescues him from the situation, and says, right, I'm going to take you to my friend. He's called Mr. Romance. He is always able to help people out in planning the perfect dates, but what you need is someone to help you recognize when people think that they are dating you. Enter Liam, who is a physics major. He's also a gymnast in his spare time. That's kind of his physical activity. And he runs this little business where he helps people plan out the perfect dates for their partners, and he's really good at it. And so Charlie hires him to help recognize and understand when people think that they're dating Charlie. And along the way, they become really good friends. And Liam, who is a bit of a hopeless romantic, begins to recognize that he might have feelings for Charlie, but isn't really willing to go there because he's a client, etc. Until they both settle on a friends with benefits situation, which of course means everyone catches feelings, including Charlie, who is an absolute sweetheart, but just so clueless. Like, he is the idiot falling in love in this story, and it was kind of adorable. The audiobook for this was also really good. Then I finished an Improper Proposition, that is not easy to say, which was the historical romance novella, and this one is about Bianca, who is a countess who has propositioned her footman, who is 23 and she's 30, and so it is an age gap older woman, class disparity kind of thing, but really it starts as a one night only kind of deal. The story takes place over the course of a week, because both of them, at the end of that first week, after they've had their one night, they've gone back to kind of pretending that it hasn't happened and it doesn't work for them. And we discover that Bianca, who has had scandal in her past before, is no stranger to scandal. She's inherited her title and her money. Her husband has since passed away. She has absolutely no need to stay in London with the ton, and she realizes that she doesn't really want to stay there if it means that she can't have Blake. And so at the end, the whole idea is that they'll probably move somewhere else and ignore the scandal of, a countess marrying a footman. But it's super short and very steamy if you like that kind of thing. So the last thing that I'm going to read is the All I Want for Christmas collection. I'm going to read another chapter of the first story. I'm not quite sure. That was one that I was not sure whether I wanted to continue that particular story. I'll at least give all of the stories a shot and just kind of read the ones that I am interested in, and then I will update you again after that. Okay, hi everyone. I'm here to wrap up this tri-chapter reading vlog because I did read All I Want for Christmas, which is a collection of 4 Christmas novellas by Australian authors that all feature Chris Evans in some way, even if it's just tangentially. So the first story, Guarded Love by Eloise Tynan, is one that I've read the first chapter of before. This one is a contemporary romance between Baxter, who is Chris Evans' head bodyguard or head of security, and a woman called Minnow, who is a huge Chris Evans fan who borderlines on stalking. Like, she manages to get into his hotel and manages to always turn up at places where Chris is filming, and Baxter delights in thwarting her efforts to meet Chris. Like, he just finds it hilarious that she gets so frustrated with him, and it's their relationship. Then I started Double or Nothing by Stephanie Hazeltine, which is a workplace romance between the head of the social media marketing campaign for one of Chris Evans' movies and also one of the guys that works with her on that. I actually DNF'd this one. I just wasn't getting into the writing, even though I don't mind a workplace romance. Then there was Mistletoe Magic by Alison Middleton, which I also DNF'd. This one is Luca and Mia, and this one I really struggled to get into because I can't even remember, and I only have just finished the book. I can barely remember what the basic premise of their story was. So yeah, that's why I didn't keep reading it. And then my favorite was Finding Christmas by Emma Mugglestone, which I kind of figured it would be because I really do like Emma Mugglestone's writing. She's the author on this list that I have read the most of and have enjoyed basically everything that I've read. So this is Nick and Thea. Nick works on a ranch. He also works part-time in a bar, and he works in this bar mostly now because it gives him the opportunity to see Thea, who comes into the bar. And Thea is a screenwriter. She is writing a Christmas rom-com script for Chris Evans, but she's feeling a little bit bitter about her ex and a breakup. She caught her ex cheating. So she's run away to this small town and is trying to write this Christmas rom-com, but she's feeling very grouchy. And Nick, who is the most golden retriever of characters, is determined to help her see the joy in Christmas. And we learn that that's because Nick grew up in foster care, so he never really had Christmases growing up, so he's a big fan of the season, and he's determined to help her see why he loves it. They fall for one another, but of course the flip side of him just being so kind and generous and just genuinely into her is that when something happens with her ex, because her ex also turns up, because of course he does, it's a part that we probably didn't need in the story, but it did add to the tension of it. She needs time to think, and he interprets that as not putting him first, and so that to him doesn't compute because he thought that this was going to be different and that finally someone would put him first as opposed to never being put first in a relationship. And so that was the conflict. And his friends rightfully point out that maybe he should have stopped and listened to what she was saying, because it wasn't that she wasn't picking him. And it does end in her grand gesture, which is nice because oftentimes the grand gesture falls to the male character, but this time she actually does the grand gesture and I liked it. So at the end of that, we didn't DNF any full books, which, I mean, one would interpret that as being a good thing. Not so much in terms of reading down my TBR, but that does mean that I have cleared 1 anthology, 1 full novel, and 1 novella off my list, and all the others are staying on there until I get to them, with Gathering Dark being something that I want to try and get to relatively soon because I need it for my 52 book club side quest challenge. But yes, I would say this is fairly successful, and hopefully this video goes out in July while it's still the Australian Readathon. I'm hoping that it will. That is the grand plan. In the comments, I'd love to know, have you read any of these books, or are you planning on picking any of them up? Or if you've read the authors but you have other recommendations by them, feel free to leave them down below. And if you just want to let me know that you're here but you don't leave a comment, leave any kind of Australia themed emoji down below. I hope that wherever you're on the world, you're staying safe and healthy, and I will see you in my next video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye everyone.